The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Yes, it's box seat time again, and thank you to our stable of sponsors who continue to get behind the show. Michael Guerin off an excellent night at Alexandra Park, and of course one of the bigger days, Diamonds Day, out of Invercargill. We've got a lot ahead.
We have, Greg. It's been a weekend of sort of roller coaster racing, because you had Muscle Mountain leading, easy, exactly what you expected it to be. The Taylor Mile, vastly different, not only from that race, but from the race by Grins the week before, which was again vastly different from the Cambridge Flying Mile the week before that. So we're seeing a really different sort of pattern of racing, Greg, and a rarity in harness racing in New Zealand. We've seen a 15-day space of major open class races in the North Island with 3 different winners. 2 of those winners clashed this week in the Messenger, so maybe the autumn skiting rights will be a bit more defined after this Friday night, Gregory.
Yep, they certainly could be. All right, let's have a look at what's ahead for you on your show, because we have a heap for you. Taylor Mile, we'll wrap that up with Dawson Harford Limited. Muscle Mountain again on top at Alexandra Park. We'll do that preview for you on Friday night, a big night there, of course. Diamonds Day review out of Southland. Michael Guerin was out at Stonewall Stud. We'll learn a lot more about that operation later in the program. Darren Williams drops in and talks to us about Addington's Owners Night, and we had a successful hand milking best bets for breast cancer last week. But let's get straight into it. Alexandra Park from last Friday night. This was the Taylor Mile, and all of the action was nice and early. Nicholas Cage, Todd Mitchell declared he wanted the lead, and he got it off Copy That. But as we'll see, Michael, and as we roll the tape here, once he gets there, Blair Orange thinks, no, I want to go back in front. But the damage had almost been done in a mid sort of 26-second quarter.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is obviously Todd told to go forward, and that's within his rights. Of course he should go forward if he thinks he's got the gate speed to get there. He was also half around the bend looking to see if he had created a big enough gap behind Copy That to pull back inside him. But in 26.7 for the first quarter, there wasn't really a lot of chance to pull back and get back there, because he would have had to restrain the momentum. So nothing wrong with the early tactics, but they completely undid both those horses, because as good as Copy That is, they weren't just going 26.5 for the first 400. They were going 26.5 around a bend. That's incredibly hard to do and leaves you vulnerable. Now, in a weaker race, wouldn't be an issue, but of course, while all that was going on, Tony Herlihy got off the markers and outside the leader. Out wide, here comes Greg Sugars, and following him is Akuta. So 3 very good horses missed the burn. Their lungs at this stage were a lot more full than Copy That. What we're about to see is a classic open class finish, and anybody who gets sick of the lead and sprint home wins, well, this was a race for you.
Nicholas Cage for the HR Fiskin passing lane. Akuta gets around runners now. Top of the lane though. Copy That goes a length in front. Self-Assured better eclipse Akuta down the outside. It's Copy That. Self-Assured trying to draw him back. Better eclipse and Akuta on the outside. Self-Assured now from Copy That. Self-Assured Copy That. Akuta charges late. Oh, very tight. Oh, I can't pick it here. They're wide apart too. Self-Assured Akuta, they've hit it. Locked together. Photo third. Copy That.
So a terrific finish to a classic race, and Akuta got there, win number 12 in his career, close to $800,000. Mark Purden not only co-trains alongside his son Nathan, he drove and part owns with Ian Dobson, and Michael Guerin caught up with him to talk about the win and where Akuta's at in his open class career.
Look, he probably deserved to get the right sort of run and the right race, but at the halfway stage you must have been feeling more confident than you were before the race.
Yeah, well, probably at the halfway point, you know, I was pleased to see Greg make the first move and, you know, managed to tack onto his back, and he dragged me right into the race. So got a good cart into it all the way around the last corner, and was right in the firing line turning in.
Has it taken him a couple of runs this campaign, Mark, to actually get fit? The first couple of runs he looked very big and round. I thought he looked fitter tonight than he did at Cambridge.
Yes, possibly. I think too, just coming out of 3-year-old racing into the big league, that it just takes a little bit of adjusting, and he's a great 3-year-old, and he obviously always knew he was going to take the step, but I think the runs he's had up in this grade sort of have made him.
Self-assured was good.
Very good again, yes, yeah.
All right, so we have the Messenger next week, and we have the Auckland Cup, obviously the race in between named after your dad. Would he be likely to start in all 3 of those?
I would think so, like just subject to how he is tomorrow, but I think he does thrive on racing, and I expect him to come through the run good, and 3 runs before the end of the season are probably right, or end of.
There's a lot of talk about Queensland campaigns for some horses. Is it a case that Self-Assured would be more likely than Akuta to go to Queensland?
Yes, Gene hasn't been fussy the last couple of years. More inclined to spell and get ready for the New Zealand Cup, so whether feelings might change this year, I'm not sure, with being a year older, but yeah, we'll just talk about that probably a little bit closer to the time.
We keep thinking that he's been round an open class for a long time, but of course he's only just turned 4 a couple of months ago, Akuta. Do you think there's much improvement in him? Because he was such a good juvenile, and he was a very good 3-year-old. Do you see him continuing to develop?
Yes, I do. I think, just these last 3 runs and then a nice break and bringing him back for the New Zealand Cup, I think he'll be a, very, very good horse.
Is he a nice horse to work with? Because he's a very big, strong, powerful-looking horse. Is he a nice horse to be around?
A lovely horse to be around, yeah. He's just a perfect gentleman. He's just, lovely to work with.
So as we now know, Akuta's not going forward to this week's Messenger. Look, he has some aches and pains, I'm sure, Michael, but he's arrived in open company. Look, we know that Mark has the New Zealand Cup in November as his main target, but that was an excellent performance from him. Good from Self-Assured, really good Better Eclipse. And I spoke to Blair Orange about Copy That, and he said, I wasn't really disappointed. He got beaten less than a length. You can't really knock him.
Well, first on Akuta, when you get up close to him, he's a very big horse. He's quite strong, and he's got a decent-sized chest on him. So you can see how he would get the occasional niggle in the hock area. So he'll get treated, and you can't race him this week anyway. This is the right time to treat him. And in all 3 runs in the north recently, before the initial first run, he's been 3 wide at some stage, and 3 wide when they've been going fast. That's really hard on a horse who's still only 4. So I think Mark's doing the right thing, and he should be able to re-peak him for the Auckland Cup. But you're right, he's the horse who's being aimed at the New Zealand Cup, and potentially he probably has a bigger improvement curve than the other horses because they're a bit older. Self-Assured's been fantastic the entire northern season, and he's going to win one of the big races coming up shortly, maybe this Friday. Better Eclipse, excellent. Was out of the early bird, but still really good. And he also can win the right race, but the problem is his lack of gate speed. And no issue with Copy That. He didn't actually blow out. He just got tired that last 100 metres. And when you have those burns, which create that lactic acid buildup, that's when you do get tired. It's not like you capitulate at the 400. It's in the real dirty part of the finish. And that's what happened to him. So I was on Copy That, and a lap from home I thought, well, you've got no chance. Again, no issue with the tactics early. If you've got a horse with the gate speed Nicholas Cage has, yes, by all means go forward. So very much, Gregory, an antidote to those who are concerned that too often our open class races are lead and win and boring. 2 out of the last 3 have been complete slugfests.
All right, what's going to happen this week? 2,700 metres. Here's the market, $1.80 for Copy That, $2.50 Self-Assured. Spoke to Natalie Rasmussen, who's back on board this week with Mark copping a suspension on Akuta. She said, I would rather have drawn inside Copy That. It's not going to be easy from there. You've got Better Eclipse, $5. You already mentioned his lack of gate speed. They're the 3 that dominate the market, although the speed inside, Ultra Wise Guy and Kango. So how do you see the small field for this year's Messenger, the race panning out?
I think Copy That's certain to get the lead. I think Ultra Wise Guy and Kango have comparable gate speed, and whoever's willing to burn the most energy would hold the lead into the first bend. And then I see Copy That heading forward and getting the lead off them. And then I just don't see any attackers at all. Natalie's in a really tricky position because I think the whole field will go single file for the first lap. if Copy That has to burn early to get the lead, who becomes vulnerable? If he doesn't, they might go 320 and come home in 54.8 or something like that. So clearly, Copy That's race to win, or to lose, sorry. Maybe if there's a burn early, things could get turned upside down, or Self Assured could get the back a better eclipse, or vice versa. But it's still going to be really hard to come around this horse and beat him. Not saying it can't happen, but ironically, this week's race stacks up better for Copy That without another frontline gate speed flyer or a horse who's willing to roll the dice, Gregory, because it's 2,700 metres. I don't think anybody wants to do that, than last week. So, yeah, it should be his race to lose. How did you see it? Because I know you're a huge Self Assured fan, and as most of us are, and I thought he's been excellent this autumn. In fact, I think he's been better this autumn than he was last autumn. Yeah,
I agree, but he's in a power of pain this week for the reasons you've just outlined. If Copy That gets the front, and I just don't see him being able to sit outside him and beat him, provided he hasn't burnt too much. And of course, he gets the opportunity, Copy That, the unique opportunity to be a dual messenger winner with the way the race is run these days. So we'll leave the New Zealand Messenger Championship there and go on to Muscle Mountain. He was brilliant last week. Here was the start, Michael, and well, the race was effectively over after the start.
Yeah, well, the Majestic Man camp had indicated after a poor run the week before they were likely to hand up. They did, and then we just had 2 more laps of this because he was in front and he was always going to win. Thought the run of the race was actually Double Delight. So leader wins, very good horse, we all know that. Majestic Man got the run he needed to get, which was a nice comfortable run. Artie by the Hill was good in a race where they just sprinted home, and Double Delight, excellent for a little 4-year-old mare sitting parked. And look, she's the horse who's really come on this autumn. But yeah, the big fella, he's just too good for most of these, Greg, and very hard to make a case to bet against him in any race, not only for the remainder of this campaign, in any race for the remainder of this year.
All right, you got the opportunity as well to catch up with his co-trainer, Nina Hope.
Well, Nina, he was super tonight and seemed to handle Alexandra Park really well.
Yeah, he did. No, we were a bit worried actually. He was so bloody relaxed in that out there, and Ben had to stick up to sort of keep him on his job. But he's so athletic, even though he's such a big horse. He's his agility, like when you see him bucking and kicking around in the paddock, he just handles trotting either way. He's just a natural athlete, really.
Last year, you and Greg wanted to look after him a bit, so you let him miss some races along the way. You did that again at Cambridge last week. Was that to avoid having to race 3 Fridays in a row?
Yeah, we didn't want 3 Fridays. It was just going to be a bit taxing. But
he's doing it so easily, it might not affect him.
Oh, it's hard. It's what he's like at home when you train him. Like he can be quite aggressive at home when you jog him and that, and get quite keen and take a lot out of himself. So it's more that, and so
that Muscle Hill getting fired up type thing sometimes.
Yeah, but he's actually, this time we've come up and you can actually jog him out there by himself, and he is a different horse this time come up here.
We know the national trot will be next Friday, so he'll go for that, and I presume he's sticking around for the Rowe Cup this year?
Yes, no, we're looking forward to that. Yeah, we're staying right up till then. Yeah, it's a big holiday in Auckland.
Now, at the moment, the best Australian trotter, Just Believe, is getting an invite to Sweden. Has it ever been discussed by you guys and Ian? Have you ever thought, if you had the chance to go to Sweden, whether you'd want to go with this horse, or would you want to go yourself?
Oh, it would be a dream. It would be a dream.
You look a bit Swedish.
I've had my DNA done. I've got a bit of Swedish blood, but I think Ian, at his stage in life, had it been 10 years ago, I'm sure Ian would have done a trip like that. But right now, I think he's Ian's. I suppose he won on a Hoka as well today, but. Ian's getting a lot of pleasure watching him race around here, yeah.
He hasn't made it to Australia yet, and at the moment he seems to have maybe this autumn at his mercy. Is there a hope, excuse the pun, to get him there at some stage?
Well, there is. We were hoping for the Great Southern Star, but he just had a wee cold, and I mean, you don't go on an overseas trip when you're under the weather, yeah. We do want to go the Southern Star. It's hard really with racing. He'll have a bit of a spell, obviously, after the Rowe Cup, and then we'll probably bring him up for the Cup meeting again. And Yeah, maybe another shot at the Southern Star. Yeah.
We're finding out a bit more about Muscle Mountain and his idiosyncrasies tonight. Have you ever weighed him? Because he's quite a big horse. He looks quite tall, but he doesn't look overly fat and muscly. So have you guys ever chucked him on the scales?
No, we haven't. No, we don't weigh them. We just sort of visually look at them to sort of see how they're doing. But no, we haven't weighed them. But
is he a big eater? Because he never seems to have a big round belly.
He does. He is a good eater. He's not. We've had like Mombay used to have 2 feeds a night, but this boy is happy with just 1. But he's not. Yeah, he's not a huge eater, but he's not picky or anything. He always eats up.
For all those trotting trainers out there or enthusiasts, how's he shod? Is he a horse who needs any help from the farrier, or is he quite easy to shoot?
Yeah, he's pretty straightforward, really. He's lovely mover. But Kerry Estridge is incredible. He even took photos when he shot him up before he came. He took some photos of the shoes and how his front feet looked and that. Like he's brilliant, Kerry Estridge. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see you next Friday.
Yeah, we will.
So a really good insight from Nina around Muscle Mountain, and Michael this week in the Peter Brecker Memorial National Trot, he comes up with barrier 1. We could just about rinse and repeat because he'll lead and he'll win again.
I'm not convinced he'll absolutely just lead for fun off the gate. I think Elderbearer and Zeus, speaking to Brett Lilly, they'll have a crack. Yep. And I think Ben Hope, who's driven this horse beautifully throughout its career, might be keen enough to let them go. Because Elderbearer and Zeus will go so quick, if he is to cross Muscle Mountain, if that Muscle Mountain can come around and get the lead back off him. I don't think the Elderbearer and Zeus camp, talking to them last week and this week on the phone, would want to be in front over 2,700 metres, not against that horse. And even then, if he is in front over 2,700 metres and Muscle Mountain's on his back, he'll beat him. I think it's a dead set Quinella. No disrespect to Oscar and Majestic Man and all the other horses in the race, because if they do come off the gate comparably same speed, and therefore Muscle Mountain has the ability to hold up, I think they'll create a big enough gap for Elderbearer and Zeus to go straight to his back, in which case they should run 1-2. There's no certainty they'll run 1-2 because Oscar Bonavita's been in good form, but he's only been okay in the North, Oscar. So, Greg, I think there'll be a lead trail in one way or the other. I expect Muscle Mountain to be in front at the mile, and I expect him to win.
Yep, he's $1.25, so most of the punters expecting that. $9 for Elderbearer and Zeus, $11 for Oscar Bonavina, and Double Delight next best at around $14. 50th running of the Peter Brecker Memorial National Trot. Looking forward to that one. $75,000 goes on the line in the Harness Million Trot. Let's have a look at Kiss and Run. This was on a pretty ordinary Saturday morning, but actually had a gallop early on, Michael, and was excellent here. Too good for race rival and Southern Diamond. And yeah, there's a lot to like about her. Southern Diamond's $5 chance, a $2.80 Kiss and Run, $5 for Southern Diamond, and then you're out to $5.50 for Hellberg, who got its win at Alexandra Park last week. But Kiss and Run's always had immense ability. They've got the Northern Trotting Oaks coming up next Thursday for her, and that's going to be a really good race. Elderbearer and Crystal, she's Bella, they're lining up as well on Friday night, and if High Energy joins them, there's a bit of depth around those 3-year-old ladies this year.
Yeah, it's one of the few crops where fillies can beat the boys often as 3-year-old trotters. It's not unusual for that to happen. Wouldn't be unusual for it to happen this Friday night. I think they're a very even bunch. There's no star here. I loved the way Love Me Too raced last week. Was really good, looks really fit and forward, and therefore has a fitness advantage over the 3 horses either coming back or in Hellberg's case who came back last week. So even race, manners may well decide it. You saw the half hopples there. On the favourite, not entirely sure barrier 1 suits, but on that trial you couldn't back Southern Diamond to beat it, even though Southern Diamond may end up being a Derby type horse. So I thought Dylan Ferguson's horse had a good as chance as any. I thought it was actually overpriced in the early market, but very hard to work out exactly where all these horses are, Greg.
Yeah, you're going to have a look at race number 1 as well. Here's Sonnys Sister, got its maiden win at Addington. That's her last back on the fence here, Michael. Here's High Energy about to go to the lead. Have a look at the way Sonnys Sister finds the line, though. We know what Sonny's brother did at Alexandra Park, and This horse is really developing, comes up from the standing start where it's been a winner from barrier 6, and it'll take some beating in the first on the program. It's a good race though, Walking on Sunshine's another filly with talent. She's Bella, it ain't necessarily so. It's a decent sort of a race number 1.
Isn't it funny how she looks like her brother? Like she's just a little bit bigger than Sunday's Son, but same way of letting down and putting the head out and dropping the rump. So here, if she's got half his ability, she'll be too good for most of these. But I agree, good field this. There's 3 or 4 Southerners in there, and it's a decent night of trotting races all around, because later on, a horse called Isolator, I think is a pretty good horse too, is another maiden trot. So once again, the trotting races and the lower grade trotting races, enormously advantageous for Alexandra Park and Northern Trotting, because they really, week in, week out, Greg, fill the gaps and create turnover.
Yeah, of course, the Ivy League in the first as well, Blair Orange for Paul Nairn. So, yeah, those fillies, there's a lot of depth to them. Want to have a look at Bark as well. It goes round in race number 7. It actually hurts me a bit to watch this race, Michael, because sooner the better went to go past, and visually looked like it did. But you were telling me earlier in the week that Zach Butcher said he never actually got the lead here.
No, here it looks like it is, but Zach said no, never quite got there, and it's still a very young horse, sooner the better, still learning its trade and how to drop its arse and sprint, whereas Bark is probably an open class horse and waiting.
So let's leave Alexandra Park there, and as we go to our first break, had a chance to catch up with Darren Williams. They've got a big night coming up on the 5th of May. It's Owners Night, so let's hear more about that. Darren, it's not a new concept, Owners Night, but you've got one coming up at Addington.
Yeah, I've run about 3 of them, I think, at Addington now. I've run a couple Auckland and Southland as well, but a good opportunity to look after all of the owners that support the raceway over the years, and any potential owners, anyone that's interested. So next one's next week, Friday the 5th of May.
Yep, and you can book a table, but there's not too many left because it's proved very popular. Tell me about some of the stuff that happens on the night, and effectively it's a free night just to come along, get a whole lot of information and a heap of prizes.
Each year we try and rank it up a wee bit. This year, as they come into the property, there'll be a photo opportunity with the New Zealand Cup, which will be pretty cool. Everyone gets a ribbon as they come in, so they're either an owner of a horse racing on the night, or already an existing owner or a potential owner, someone that's perhaps thought about it and thought they might want to get involved. Reserved table, there's an expo in the room from feed merchants, Harness Racing New Zealand. There's a couple of trainers in that involved, a couple of syndicates involved that have some syndicates, some opportunities to join their syndicate available to them. There's a meal, and there's an awful lot of prize draws from those potential owners. So one of those people or a group of those people will experience owning a horse on the night, be able to go down to see the horse, see the trainer, be up on the stage area watching the race, into the winning owners bar and see what happens there, win, lose or draw. So that'll be a cool thing for them to get behind the scenes view of how all that works. And then there's an awful lot of prizes. There's a week's accommodation in Malula Bar. There's a $40,000 insurance policy from New Zealand Bloodstock, which is really cool for the existing owners, and a raft of prizes that we just keep drawing through the night and annoy everyone, keep drawing them out all night. All
right, so if anyone wants to go along, how do they get involved and how do they book a spot?
So ring the raceway if that's what they want to do, or contact Emma Williams here at the raceway, emma.williams@addington.co.nz to reserve a table. I think this morning, which is Tuesday, about 10, 12 days beforehand, we're up to about 180 people already. And we know people are a bit slow to reserve tables, but there's room for about 340 in the room. We'll get to capacity eventually, and it'll be a really great night. Bit of music and spectators after last, so good night to be involved.
So the big day, Diamonds Day down south, and these famous colours, the young Quinn colours for Des Baines, gets it done here. Storyteller beating Repetitive. This is the IRT Maiden of the Week. Nathan Williamson, horse with a bit of ability, and was too good for them in the early part of the program down there. Let's get into the features though out of Diamonds Day, and we start with Hoka Connor. Brilliant performance from him, parked out throughout, home in 57.9. Gets to the outside here of Wagstar, who was very brave, and Captain Tom, who's a smart horse. But Hoka Connor makes it 6 from 6. The Telfer and Cullen team, Tim Williams, and he's going to have a nice wee break now and come back even better.
But this is pure pacing power. What a beast he is, Hoka Connor.
Well, we knew he was good, but sitting parked in those conditions, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, look, I was a bit worried when he was parked, but Tim drove him awesome, and to the horse's credit, he was just awesome himself, yeah.
So he's 6 from 6 now. He just keeps stepping up, doesn't he?
He does. He's sort of just took everything in his stride, and at the moment he's just a big kid, so when he actually grows up, it will be pretty impressive to see what he turns into, yeah.
He is exactly that, a bit of a kid, and he's still quite green. So what's the plan for him going forward?
Oh, look, he goes to the paddock. All plans were that after this race he goes to the paddock and has a few weeks out, probably 4 to 6 weeks out, and come towards the end of the year. He needs a break. He's got a big frame and he needs to fill into it. So he's done what he's done at the moment's pretty good. So we'll just put him away and bring him back Derby and at the end of the year. So yeah, that's where we'll head.
Well, it's no mean feat finishing second to a horse like a Hoka Connor, but he's gone pretty well, hasn't he?
Yeah, look, we're wrapped with our guy, Hoka Connor. He looks like a machine, you know. To sit parked in the wind today, he's you know, a really nice horse. So for our guy to run second to him, we're wrapped.
Well, he looked to be a nice horse in the making, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a pretty nice horse, mate. He's got a nice race today. A little bit further back than we might have liked, but he's hit the line well and run a nice third.
It's a good race, the Supremacy, Michael, and he's a good horse.
He is, and he's shaped like a good horse. You know, if he was a little tiny rat of a thing, you'd say, well, can he make it an open class? But he's got that scope, and yeah, he's an open class horse. And he's got a lot to learn, but he's got a lot of time to learn it in. And the good thing about the Telfer team is, or Telfer Cullen team is, I don't think they'll rush him into open class, Greg. He can race through, and we've still got a Derby, which is 8 months away, and we may not see him even dipping his toes into open class to this time next year. I think that'll be the best thing for them. They spend a lot of money, these guys, at the yearling sales, which is great, but this was a PP purchase, and that's a really good skill to have, the ability to identify talent and buy the right horses off the track. So another string to the bow. We'll find out more about the Stonewall Stud barn a little bit later on.
Yep, looking forward to that. Let's go to their other real feature on the day, and this was a survival of the fittest. Treacherous Gal had sat out the back while Southern Diamond and Black Pearl went to war, and she was able to unleash. It's a race that Regan Todd's won before, but he wanted to win it again, and he's done it with this gal, and you'll hear from him post-race. He's pretty happy about that.
Treacherous Gal won it by 2.5. Sweet Diamond was second. Wadaminx held third.
Well, you have to love it when a plan comes together like that.
Absolutely, yes. It's been 4 months in the making, so yeah, to pull it off is great.
So she did that fairly easily with the plug still in. So what do you do with her next? Do you go for a spell or aim for another target?
She's heading out to the paddock now, so she'll have a good 4 to 6 weeks at least, maybe 8. But Aussie could be on the cards. She's paid up for the Breeders' Crown, so maybe Victoria and Oaks and into that, or we'll just wait for our races later on in the year.
It's a race that you usually target, being a Southerner, and you've won it before with Better Talk Art, so it must be pretty special to win it down here in your homeland.
Yeah, it's quite cool actually. Dave and Clallan and all from down here as well, and they bred her, so it's pretty special. They sort of looked at me a bit funny when I said we're not going to Auckland, we're targeting this race, so yeah, it's good we pulled it off.
Well, for a Southland guy winning the Southland Oaks, that's pretty special.
Yeah, super special to win that race. It's one that everyone down here wants, and to win it for Regan too, you know, being such a good mate, it's real good.
You would have been sitting back laughing about that early pace in a way that you know she's got the speed to pick them up at the end.
Yeah, look, we were a long way off them the first lap, and I was just hoping that something was going to get us a bit closer, and you know, when we did, I thought it played right into our hands.
Well, gee, she stuck on pretty well at the finish, didn't she?
Yeah, wrapped. It was probably a little bit upside down early. Just she got a little bit keen, which I don't know. We put that down in the conditions, but you take nothing away from the winner. Everyone had to go around in the same conditions, so really proud of my girls. Stuck on and run a really brave second.
Well, third in the Oaks, you have to be happy with that.
Yeah, it was a good run. We got a nice run in transit and travelled good round the bend, but just didn't let down sort of how she felt. But lucky enough, she just held on for third.
Yeah, raced by Clellan Murdoch and Dave Kennedy. So a real southern feel to this, Michael. I spoke to Regan, so maybe Victoria Oaks and Breeders' Crown, maybe just stick around here. And he said butt heads with Millwood Nike and the Neverly are and then into the Oaks. But she showed us back in October. I mean, she came from miles off the pace and beat one of Stonewall's, maybe Artie by the Seaside or one of those fillies of theirs, and just charged home. And I thought, she's very smart, and she just proved that again on Sunday.
I think one of the key skills for horse trainers isn't just feeding them and working them and putting their rugs on. It's picking the right races. And he picked the right race. Had he come to Auckland, he wouldn't have beaten Millwood Nike, and therefore it would have come up here for more expense and got less money. So Regan's pulled this off. He's done it before when he's won races. He's gone to a Breeders' Crown and won a race over there. It's a really important skill for trainers to think of Australasia as one big country. Because if you can't win a race here, Greg, go win it somewhere else. Winning is what it's about. So I think he's done an outstanding job. I think he's a very good trainer, Regan Top, not just in the feeding and working them part, but the way he thinks about his horses.
Yep.
I would send it to Australia. I think they do have a very good filly over there, a Major Delight, who might be an issue, but Millwood Nike is more likely to be exactly where it needs to be for our big races, because they're on its home track, and Mark Purden's training it, then the Aussie horses tend to be far more up and down. They're far more likely to hit a wall and be over-raced and be vulnerable. So, yep, if they want to go to Aussie, absolutely no pot on that. But half the job done for the Southerners winning the Southern Oaks.
All right, the richest race of the day was the 2-year-old race, and still unbeaten is Vesim. There was a move earlier in the race, had to pop out and get the lead again, did Blair Orange. He was actually questioned about that by the stewards. Major Hot was in front, and he just felt that Olivia was going a bit slow, so he straight back round, got the business done. Son of Vincent, 3 from 3, and Blair thinks that, well, they probably haven't got close to the bottom of him yet.
AllStars 1 and 2.
Well, for a pickup driver, it was a pretty nice one, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's a pretty nice 2-year-old mate. He, gave me a good feel the first start I drove him and at the trials, and he's just got better and better those couple of starts, and he done it pretty nice today.
So you did draw the outside of the arm, but weren't too worried going into it?
Not really, sort of looked to see what was happening across early, and chose to go forward and control the race, and obviously took a trail there, but when Olivia just put the brakes on a bit too much, I didn't want it to be a sprint home, so he back round and controlled the race from there, and he showed just how nice he is.
Yeah, pretty nice horse. Another win in this race for the All-Stars team of Mark Purden and, of course, his son Nathan. And it looks like, Michael, that he's still not absolutely screwed down yet, but he's been good enough to win again. And I'm not so sure about what he's beating at the moment, but you can only win.
And it's important for Vincent. I mean, Vincent has had some nice horses come through so far, but he needs another one, because very quickly, if you don't have horses racing in those Group 1s, and more importantly, winning them when they come around, people tend to forget you. So he needs another good horse, and he's got one here, and that's going to be really advantageous for him. This horse could be a nice advertisement heading into the winter with the feature race coming up next month, which is when people start to think about their mares and where they're sending them. So yes, a good win for him, a better win for Vincent.
Yep, absolutely. It was. The Country Cup's final as well was won by Wheels of Fortune. John Hay, not shy of going south with a pretty good horse. And he's a smarty, this one, Michael. He was excellent. See Your Art was good in second. Tommy Waterhouse led them up, and Got You Covered was very brave too. But Wheels of Fortune actually goes this week to the Waimakariri Businesses Winter Cup. He has to back up, Michael, so he can qualify for the Country Cup's final, the $90,000 final at Addington on the 12th of May. And he's a pretty rugged stayer, this horse, and I can see him being a real force to be reckoned with in that final.
Yeah, I can see him being an open class horse in 12 months. Thrilled for John, beautiful drive, didn't wait for the passing lane, moved out at the right time. Funny story, Greg, when I started working as a journalist, I actually wrote my first harness racing story when I was 15 years old, and was at Victoria Park, and the first harness racing trainer driver I ever interviewed was John Hay.
Right.
So lucky enough to call him a mate now. I don't see him very often, but he is a guy I have a lot of time for. He was a wonderful, talented horseman then who did things right. The horses were presented right. He was presented right. And he's still that same person now, about 40 years later. I hate to age myself, Gregory, saying that, but yep, I remember it from a long time ago, and the horses still race the same. Well-mannered, they look the part. This horse will end up a New Zealand Cup horse. I'm not saying he's going to win a New Zealand Cup horse, but he'll work his way there.
Yep, well, he signalled when he put him in the Derby that he had a lot of time for him, and yeah, he's a very, very good horseman, no question about that at all. Big thank you to Cam Kirkwood and Emily Morgan, who got that aftermath and that for us out of the massive day on Diamonds Day. All right, chance for us now to go to this piece that Michael put together during the Race by Grins week. It's a real insight into what is unfolding at Stonewall Stud.
Well, Steve, it's turned into an amazing facility, the biggest harness racing barn I've ever seen. Well, what used to be in this ginormous 60 by 40 metre barn next to us here at Stonewall Stud?
Yeah, look, it was a full-size dressage arena, which we used to, they used to walk the horses when they went to the yearling sales early on, when Dennis and Jill Smolinski were here, and then we started using it to break in the horses when Chris and I were started off. So, but now that got ripped down and there's that big barn there.
Let's talk about the facilities. It's a huge property. It's beautifully done. How many paddocks do you have here? Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I know there's lots. They're numbered, I know that, but I couldn't actually tell what the highest number is.
How many horses would be on the property?
Oh, the audit come through last week. They clicked off 126, I think.
126 horses on this property. Stonewall Stud obviously has one base and another one to come in the South Island. So how many horses under the control of Stonewall Stud at the moment?
Yeah.
You can have a guess.
Yeah, no, I'd say it'd be around, with the mares and foals and what they've got down south, the ones we bought at the sales racehorses, I would say there'd be close to 190.
Is that a daunting number?
Only if you talk about it.
Since we're talking about it now, how's it all managed? Obviously, stables doing books and accounts is always a bit of a pain. How does all this work?
Yeah, well, I've got to thank Jill for all that. So, yeah, she kicks me out of the house and I have to do the work out here, so she can do the work in there. So, she does a great job. And as you know, Hayden and Amanda, Tim and the staff down there, they've got a great staff down there. They handle the south stuff, but they'll get a lot busier in the few months to come.
When you are finished working the horses here on a normal morning, do you then tune in or FaceTime in or talk to the team down in the south? Do you see those horses most days?
Yeah, no, we talk about the horses most days after they're finished and what's coming ahead, both with Hayden and Amanda, and then work it out from there. So yeah, we do the ones here, and then a bit of time in the office communicating with the staff. But yeah, look, it seems to be working well. But you know, it's when you're operating this big, it's all about being organised.
What's the philosophy behind Steve Telfer and the bigger extended team's training? Is it hopples twice a week? Is it a mile and a half in a minute? Is it galloping, heat work? What do you guys do?
Yeah, look, we do a lot of everything really. You know, Hayden's got his ideas that he's learnt over the years, and we'll incorporate that as well. That's just in the infancy at the moment, but yeah, no, we do. There's horses that we gallop, and there's horses that we. They work every second day though, whether it be a gallop or a hobble, and then yeah, so they gallop and they do a bit of heat work and a bit of everything really. So a lot depends on age and type of horse, and we try to treat them as individuals. So some horses need a bit more than others, and we take that into account. So a bit of everything, mate.
Here we are on the famous Stonewall Stud track, and as we look behind you here, talk to us about the camber, the bends. This is like a little racetrack.
Yeah, no, look, it is really good. We initially were going to set up two tracks, jog track on the inside and the main one on the outside, but when we first got it done, it took 5 or 6 months to build, and then but I sort of liked it the way it was, so we just left it. So we jog on the inside and work up in the middle to the top. The bends are about 8.5 degree camber on the bends. it's nearly 20 metres across all the way around, 1,000 metre track, 330 the bends are, so the radius is 110. I think Auckland radius is 90, so it shows you how big the bends are. So yeah, short straights, but yeah, it's lovely track to work on, and you need it to be suitable for wet weather up, and it's great.
What's the fastest a horse has ever worked 1.5 miles on this track?
I think Tony holds the record for that. He comes over and tries to break his own track record every time. So
who was it?
I just can't remember the name of the horse, but it was I remember it was a pulling one, and he came over and he let it go. And it,
what are we talking here?
I think it went about 3 minutes. I think you'd have to ask him. He just let it go.
Let's not ask him.
Yeah, but I remember it. He got a bit keen, so I think he let it run. But Tim's been here with a few, and he likes to work his, and he'd sort of work his around 3.3, 3.4. Yeah, so yeah, you can pretty much run whatever you want. You know, if you really wind them up, you can run faster sectionals. You know, probably than bookie, but we don't do that too much, mate.
I know horse trainers and horse people love some numbers. How many staff work for Stonewall Stud in both islands? Again, I've got a funny feeling this is going to be a guess.
Yeah, no, it will be a guess, mate. I think you saw in the barn there was people running around everywhere in there. Yeah, down south we've got about 11. And up here we would have about 23 or 4.
Let's talk about feed. Horse trainers are infatuated by feed. How often do the feed merchants turn up? And I'm picking they empty a truck or two.
Oh yeah, no, we get it by the pallet. So yeah, no, we the local shop delivers once a week, but we get it from we get our feed through Dunstan and Pride's Easy Feed. So yeah, they drop off by the pallet, mate.
Roughly, how many bags are on a pallet and how many pallets do you go through? Because I love this stuff.
Yeah, no, there'd be 44 bags on a pallet, so they would probably drop off 5 or 6 pallets a week.
Right, these are big numbers. Among all this, do you have a favourite horse? Do you have a horse who, for no winning reasons, you just get the affections for?
No, try not to, mate. But I've got there's a 2-year-old at the moment that's really, he's a real character. He's hopefully he'll be at the trials in about 3 or 4 weeks. But he's the Lazarus colt we bought last year. He's just got a real lot of character about him, and you know, he just you can't help but like him. What his mannerisms.
Do most of the staff get allotted horses early in their careers to drive those certain horses, or do you just drive what you want?
Well, I drive what I want, but then after that, yeah, most people have horses that they stick to. But they've come through, educated them through, and then they've got to know their little idiosyncrasies, and some, you have different staff with different capabilities. So some suit some horses and some don't. So you've got to chop and change and put them on the right ones. So yeah, but most of them will stick with a horse, and they'll know it right from day dot.
When you have this many horses and this many syndicates, you have a lot of owners. How are they communicated to? Do they get a weekly newsletter? Does it cover all horses? Do they get individual newsletters or communications?
Yeah, look, Jill does a weekly stable newsletter, which is a broad base. It's just goes to every single owner out there, tells what's happening at the stables and what's racing, and the news around the staff with the foals and everything. And Hayden and Amanda and myself, we do weekly updates to the individual owners on their horses. So if they're racing every week, they might get a couple a week, you know. But we try and give them an update once a week on the progression and where their horse is at. And yeah, look, it seems to be very popular these days. So you know, it creates a lot more work, but the owners do seem to enjoy it.
It's a pretty big ship already. What do you need to improve? What do you and the business need to get better at?
Oh, yeah. You know, there's always things you can improve at, Mac. You know, we're always tuning our training techniques. I think with the horses, you develop with time, and you know, I think with the new staff we've had come on in the last few years with Tim and down south Carl Markham and Hayden especially now, he's a very experienced man. You know, we'll look to adopt we'll look to adopt all those different things and come up with our own platform and work from there. So it's just just the different little training techniques and I think we've got pretty much everything else covered, mate. Once Steve gets that big barn done down there.
We're right next to Ardmore Airport, where a lot of people who are learning to fly in Auckland go through their lessons. Have you got used to that? And more importantly, for the horses, do they get used to having planes overhead a lot?
Yeah, no, look, it's very noisy, you know, as you can see. We've had to cut this interview a couple of times. And they fly straight over the track out the back behind me. So, yeah, the first few times the horses can be quite daunting. Just like that one there, they cut.
That's an engine restart.
Yeah, they do that right above you. You don't even know they're there. They're gliding along and they restart it right above the track there. So I tell you, it gets the horses used to pretty much everything by the time they get to the track.
You've been to Aussie. You've had a crack this year with some success at Menangle. Was it enjoyable? Has it whetted your appetite to go back, or is it just too much of a stretch staff-wise? No stretch stuff. We've got, you know, I think we've got the systems in place now to cover that. I think with with what we're dealing at now, we need to touch that bridge as well. So it was good. Manny went over the whole time, about 5-6 weeks. The horses were great. They probably didn't get a lot of luck. They won their heats but didn't win the big races. So that's probably one area we'd like to improve, get those results up. But yeah, no, we'll do it again. We're sort of we're looking at the Queensland Carnival. I don't. There's about three I'd like to take over there, but that's a few months away just yet. But yeah, we'll probably like to head there with a few mares, to be honest. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Big Steve, the other Steve, went to the sales and he did his thing again. So he's lots of horses. Are there any shares still available?
Yeah, no, there are. No, people have been ringing in, and you know, Jill's been quite happy with the response so far. So no, shares are always available, and Jill's the person to talk to with that. I'm sure you'll find it all on the Facebook site.
You won the premiership. It was a big battle. You beat a very, very great trainer to do so. How does a man like you celebrate winning the premiership on New Year's Eve?
Well, we had Tim here actually. We won the. We was probably more happy for Tim, to be honest, because the last race was the Franklin Cup, and Tim was able to get his 100th winner on Alta Wise Guy when he won the cup. So yeah, we come home and it was just Steve, and we just come home here, had a few drinks, and it wasn't too late at night, but no, it was good. I was thrilled for Tim. He's you know, puts a lot of work in. He's virtually another trainer as well. So he doesn't just get on and drive them. He's really pushing for them to be at their best. So you know, and I think that those results come through on the track.
Can you defend your title?
Well, look, it's going to be a lot harder this year. We're off to a slow start, but I think the back end of the year there'll be a lot of 2-year-olds starting to come through, and I think we'll be up there, but probably might be hard to beat it.
Is this big machine you find yourself driving around in, this Stonewall Stud thing, is it fun? Is it satisfying? How would you describe it? Is it challenging? What's it actually like to have 190 horses floating around between you, the other Steve, Jill, and all this stuff?
Yeah, no, look, I actually am enjoying it at the moment. There's always something to keep you going. Like we've got the big race this week, as everyone knows, and it's all been concentration on Joe to have him well for that, and then it flows into the Auckland Carnival, and we've also got we've got a big day pretty much down at Invercargill the following Sunday. We've got a few nice horses down there, so yeah, look, it keeps you going and keeps you interested, and you know, I'm starting to get around the country a little bit, and you know, it's always good to enjoyable to catch up with those carnivals, especially the Invercargill one. I really enjoyed myself down there last time, so yeah, no, look, I'm enjoying it, mate. It's a lot of work and a lot of pressure, but I think we've got the right people, which is important, and we've got the right people to sort of push it along a bit further in the next few years.
So, Michael, great to get that insight into what is happening at Stonewall. It is a massive operation.
Yeah, the scales is very different from what you usually see in harness racing, Greg. That's why I loved getting to the bottom of the feed and all those sort of details, which some of our trainers watching would go, wow, that's big. Track's fantastic. I appreciate Steve giving us the time to talk to us during a busy week, and I also appreciate what Big Steve, Steve Stockman, and Jill are doing there with their enormous support for harness racing, Greg. So it really is a very special place at a time when harness racing needs an operation of this size to lead the way.
I'll tell you what, their southern operation is building up too. I can hear it over the back fence. Jack Smoletsky's old property there, they're doing a lot of development, so we'll get out there at some stage as well. Here's some of the lots that they still have on offer, the colts. This one was lot 291 at the New Zealand Bloodstock sale. The buy-in price is $5,900. Out of Isabella Anvil, she's had 6 foals to race for 5 winners, including Diamond Party. This is the Bee Gees Dream family. Party and the like, so you can get involved there. And don't forget, you can pay your $180 fixed cost or pay it as the bills come in, all up to you. This is a good family as well. This is the family of Lento. The buy-in price just over $7,400. Better's Delight out of Luna Danza colt. This was a bit of a standout colt from the sale, and yeah, this is a really good family, so you can check that out at Stonewall. Always Be Mickey out of Rentska B. The last 2 lots we're talking about today. This is a half-sister to One Change, the mother of this one, 3-time Group 1 winner, of course, and dominated at 2 and 3. It's the family of Chokin and Changeover, the winner of the Cup in 2008. And this one by Captain Treacherous, buy-in price just under $4,700. It's lot 367. Again, you can check that out. It's the same sort of family. She's a half-sister to Rentska B. So there's some of the offerings from Stonewall Stud. A couple of others, lot 384 out of Supersonic Miss, who of course was a Jules winner by Better's Delight, and they've got a lather-up tacked Hayley Jane for about $3,800 for 5%. So, yep, get a hold of Jill at Stonewall. Just Google Stonewall, you get all her details there, and you can get involved in those syndicates. Right, let's have a look at a couple of the races from Addington on Friday afternoon. Yes, they start at 2:13. Here's I Dream of Jeannie. Takes her place in the feature, the Tyre General About Now Fillies and Mares. Natalie Rasmussen drove on this occasion. Starts off the back mark of 40 metres, but is there with Peregrine and the likes of Bella Button, who's just low flying. Sue Princess from the same Mark Jones barn. Miss Alyssa, who's gone back to back. It's so easy. It's a really good race, that. So, yeah, she'll get her chance. I Dream of Jeannie, and she's in good form, but both her and Peregrine having to come off the 40 metres. I reckon they'll near Quinella it, even though they're off that long mark. Sweet Belle was excellent at Addington last time. Goes around this week in a race that be competitive in once again. Found the front on this occasion. Very good horseman, Jared O'Reilly, and was simply too strong for them. So Sweet Belle looks a good chance. Kikarangi Blues drawn to her inside. The likes of Glory's Delight, Life's a Beach in that one as well. But Sweet Belle, she's found form. She's placed at Group 1 level, and when she finds her form, she normally holds it. So don't forget about that. Friday afternoon, 2:13 start time, 10 race program there at Addington, rolls into the huge night at Alexandra Park. As we go to a break, let's have a look at Paramount Empress getting the job done last week. She's in really good form. The late payment made for her to be eligible for this race, and she won again.
Time up the hill with Majestic Lavros. Paramount Empress at the 50 is holding them off though. Cody Banner and Time Up the Hill late, but Paramount Empress won it.
And here's this outstanding mare, Michael, Amazing Dream. That's Dexter Dunning's up in third position with Doug's Babe here, but this is winning the Blue Chip Matchmaker Series, and, well, she just keeps on doing incredible things.
She has a great will to win, doesn't she? She's always had it since she was 2, and she'll always have it, and she'll probably inject it into her stock later in life, Greg. So wonderful win yesterday out of Yonkers. Same day Lochinvar Art didn't have a lot of luck and finished about 4th or 5th in his $600,000 final. So what a wonderful little girl she is. Amazing Dream. Some people forget, Greg, won an Auckland Cup, beating, among others, copy that.
Yeah, exactly. Driven by Yannick Gingera there yesterday. Also winning on that card was American Dealer, who keeps on doing an amazing job too. That was in about a $60,000 race. Right, what's ahead for you harness racing wise around the country? Cambridge race there Thursday night, 5:18, the Waikato Bay of Plenty Harness Racing Club, 9 races there. Alexandra Park, 6:06 the first there, the Dawson Harfoot Limited New Zealand Messenger, the Peter Brecker Memorial National Trot, and that New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred Harness Million 3-year-old Trotters final. So a really good program and a strong undercard to boot. Addington do have that meeting, 10 races there, built into a couple of cracking meetings, the 5th, 12th and 19th of May, all very, very strong. Invercargill race on Saturday, 11:50 the start there with their 10 race program. And Rangiora have a good program. The field's just not out, so we can't preview those, but Wheels of Fortune goes round in that Country Cup. Bit of success for us last week, Michael, courtesy of Graham Hand, the hand milking man, came up with just over $800. So we've got $5,300 for breast cancer, so we want to keep that roll going. Where are you heading this week?
I've gone for Isolate. Actually galloped last week on debut, but galloped after 200. Didn't just roll into a gallop for no reason. Got to the bend and ducked in and galloped. I think this week it'll be better for the experience, and I think if it trots all the way to win, the fiery count is the obvious danger. But yeah, I think Isolate's a pretty good horse, and I think it'll win this week and head to the Oaks next week.
All right, I'm going to go for Magic 4 in the last. I must admit, it was a tricky week this to try and find a winner, but gee, it's in the right race. I think Tim Williams will be aboard, and yeah, I think Magic 4 will take a power of beating in the final race there at Addington. And Graham Hand went with Stella Arden, race 5, number 2, into Franco Sinatra, race 9, number 3. So that is the best bets of the week. Michael, a really good night at Alexandra Park this Friday night. Looking forward to those 2 features, although potentially they look a bit formulaic, to use one of your words. They're still Group 1 races and they're there to be won.
They did last week too. Didn't work out that way. It's been a very unusual autumn with horses not getting things quite the way they like in the majority of the open class races. I guess you'll have to tune in Friday night to find out.
You certainly will. That is your box seat for another week. Big thank you to our stable of sponsors, and Michael and I will see you in 7 days. The Box Seat brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Harness Link for your worldwide harness coverage. New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, where winning begins. Brecken Farms. Stonewall Stud. IRT, it's your horse and our passion. Australasian-wide Garrard's Horse and Hound. Renwick Farms. Lincoln Farms. Harness Racing New Zealand. And the clubs Addington, Ashburton, Alexandra Park and Cambridge.